Good evening. Can you all please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Good evening, everyone. I just want to mention that Mr. Farfalia, Ms. Scanlon, and Dr. Kramer are excused from tonight's meeting. I'd like to have a moment of silence for the following individuals: Joseph F. Smith, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District, and Peter Slivka, Jr., a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Thank you. We have two presentations tonight. The first one is our district reentry plan.
Thank you, Mr. Maurizio. I want to say that a lot of work has gone into making sure that we can return all of our students to in-person learning 5 days a week. Where was that? Where did they do that? Here. And then there it goes. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay. So again, our goal was to return students to 5 days a week in-person instruction. Last year, we understand what we needed to do during that time, but I think we all agree that in-person instruction cannot be matched. So for our students, it's been documented that we will need to make sure that if students are looking for a remote option, they would need to have a medical note from a physician that states their medical condition for the need for remote instruction, and that instruction would be provided by OCM BOCES. So the district continues to work with OCM BOCES, school superintendents, Onondaga County Public Health, in order to share best practices about bringing students back safely. We've had a reopening committee and subgroups that have worked diligently throughout the summer. Various staff have also been included in this process. So some of the things that we'll be talking about what the experts have recommended and then what North Syracuse is going to be doing. So the experts have stated that vaccination is a critical component for overcoming COVID. According to the CDC, that's one of the strategies, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics. And an executive order was just issued by the Onondaga County Executive, which states that all school employees need to show proof of vaccination status or submit to weekly testing. The North Syracuse Central School District will follow expert recommendations and reopening committee concerns regarding promoting vaccinations. So we are offering a vaccination clinic at the high school August 30th with a second dose on September 20th. Letters have been emailed to all students, staff, and families. We will continue to work with our partners in Onondaga County Health Department to schedule vaccine clinics when students younger than 12 are deemed eligible. Vaccinations will be encouraged and information will be provided for those with questions or concerns. So the recommendation about mask usage. Experts recommend consistent and correct mask usage. Currently, the CDC and American Academy of Pediatrics recommend that teachers, staff, students consistently and correctly wear a mask when indoors. The CDC recommends indoor masking for all individuals aged 2 and older, including students, teachers, staff, and visitors. Central New York Pediatric work group also has recommended that students and staff wear masks indoors. So what is North Syracuse looking to do? North Syracuse Central School District will require all students, staff, and visitors to wear a mask when inside of school or district buildings or school vehicles occupied by students. When students are riding on school vehicles or buses, all drivers and passengers are required to wear a mask at all times. Individuals will not be required to wear a mask when participating in outdoor activities. Masks will be provided for individuals who forget a mask, and mask breaks will be provided. Continuing on, during meal periods, students will be allowed to remove their mask in order to eat or drink during meals. Once the student has finished eating or drinking, students will be asked to resume wearing the mask. In outdoor settings, again, students, staff, and visitors do not need to wear a mask. However, individuals who are not fully vaccinated should consider wearing a mask in crowded outdoor settings. So on physical distancing, what is recommended? Experts recommend, the Centers for Disease Control recommends that schools implement physical distancing to the extent possible within their structures, but should not exclude students from in-person learning. The Onondaga County Health Department recommends schools maintain at least 3 feet of physical distance between students within classrooms. So what does North Syracuse plan to do? We encourage students to maintain a minimum distance of at least 3 feet during classroom activities. The district will increase other mitigation measures when physical distancing cannot be attained, such as improving fresh air flow by opening windows, grouping cohorts at elementary age students who are not currently eligible for the vaccine. For screening, experts recommend screening testing. The CDC recommends that schools offer screening tests for students who are not fully vaccinated at least once per week in areas of high transmission. North Syracuse action, we will partner with the Onondaga County Health Department to provide voluntary COVID screening testing for staff and students. Onondaga County is a recipient of a grant from the New York State Department of Health related to conducting routine surveillance testing in public schools. So this is a question that we will continually get from our community, because what we'll see is as cases either rise or fall, that plan for screening or testing will probably be adjusted throughout the year. Social, emotional, and mental health. COVID pandemic has impacted the mental health and emotional well-being of our students and staff. Local, state, and federal funding has been allocated specifically for the purpose of addressing these needs. And as you have seen as a board, we have hired and partnered with county agencies to increase the amount of support that we're offering for our students for mental health issues. So North Syracuse will continue to keep in touch with students, caregivers, and parents regarding social, emotional, and mental health needs. The district uses the behavior intervention and monitoring assessment tools in certain grades to identify both group and individual needs. The district is also using a federal grant to secure additional staff to help address the social, emotional, and mental health needs of all of our students. And again, we continue to partner with the county as far as counseling services and promise zone specialists to assist families as needs arise. So some of the additional protocols are stay home when sick. We will talk about athletics and extracurricular, transportation, cleaning and disinfecting, building visitors, and temperature checks. So staying home when sick, we cannot emphasize this enough. If you are feeling under the weather, you have any type of symptoms, whether a fever, you feel like you have a cold, sore throat, all of those things, we do strongly encourage you stay home. And by staying home, then you should get tested and go to your medical care provider. Listing some of those areas, if you have fevers, chills, cough, shortness of breath, I can continue to go down the line, but we've all recognized some of those symptoms sometimes may mask themselves as something else, but in order to keep everyone safe, it's best to go to your healthcare provider to just get a check to make sure you are not someone that is positive. With athletics and extracurricular activities, masks will be worn at all times indoors, which includes inside stadiums. Frequent mask breaks will be given. No mask requirements are for outdoors. Questions have come up about locker rooms. No lockers will be given out, but may be used to change. Coaches can lock athletes' personal items in the locker room during practice. The concession stands. No indoor concessions will be held. Outdoor concessions will be allowed at Bragman Stadium, but they will have to create another setup, whether it be through tents, because our facility is mainly indoors for concessions. Spectators, there is currently no limit on spectators, but still suggested to maintain 3 feet as much as possible. Transportation for students riding school vehicles. Students and drivers will wear a mask at all times. The district will attempt to seat students by household and clean and disinfect vehicles at the end of each school day. When weather conditions allow, drivers will increase the airflow by opening windows and roof hatches. Cleaning and disinfecting. According to the Centers for Disease Control, daily cleaning and disinfection is sufficient to remove viral particles and germs from the surfaces. The district will follow standard practices and procedures for school cleaning, which include a cleaning of classrooms and disinfecting high contact surfaces each evening after school hours, which is a change because last year we were cleaning in between each classroom session. So that just should be noted that the new recommendation is that we only need 1 cleaning a day. Visitors that come to the buildings. Last school year, we were successful in welcoming parents and spectators back for outdoor athletic events and smaller audiences for indoor events, such as concerts. As scheduled events approach, we will communicate important safety information to invited parents and caregivers and spectators. The district will work with Section 3 in our league to determine appropriate safety protocols for welcoming spectators at indoor sporting events. For outdoor sporting events, students, staff, families, and community members are welcome to attend. For all school visitors, please be sure to stay home when you are feeling sick and seek medical care regardless of vaccination. There is a recommendation that's in our local Department of Health that says that we need to make sure that we're just being cautious of how many visitors that we're allowing when indoors. Temperature checks, which is a big area that was addressed last year, and how it will be addressed this year. Local Department of Health is not mandating that temperature checks be taken. So the long lines for temperature checks or the backup, the temperature checks will not be something that will be done at the start of this school year. It should be noted that students should not attend school when they are feeling sick. The district will not be taking student temperatures when the students arrive at school. There is considerable resources to symptom screening and temperature taking to little avail. Plan in motion. Additional details are included in the North Syracuse Central School complete reopening document, which is posted on our website, and you can access it in its entirety after this evening's presentation. That concludes what I have for the reopening plans. And later on during our meeting, we'll be asking the board to adopt our reopening recommendations for this school year.
Thank you, Dan. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, great. Thank you. Our next presentation tonight is our food service presentation. So I'd like to welcome Don and Wendy up to the podium.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting us again to give you a rundown of food service, both last year and what we're planning to do this year. Our presentation's a little bit different this year. We're not going to talk all about finances, but we want to talk about kind of how we reallocated some of our resources because our meal counts were lower last year and what we're hoping to do moving forward next year. So, just kind of to give everybody a rundown of food service again and kind of go over really our revenue resources. Our biggest source of revenue every year is basically from state and federal aid, from claiming meals, the breakfast and lunch that we sold to students each year. So that is our main source. We submit those numbers each month, and that money comes in typically 6 to 8 weeks later. And really, the sale of paid school meals, while it helps, it's not a huge amount of money because the majority of the kids that we do feed are typically free and reduced. We love to feed the paid kids too. So that's just an added bonus. One of the things we really lost this past year was our source of revenue from a la carte sales. And in a school year, that typically makes up about 40% of the total revenue that we take in and really helps us to break even. So we didn't really have much opportunity last year because we were feeding students primarily in the classroom. So that was a big loss for us. And really our last source of revenue is not actually cash, but it's government commodity foods. So we take in, they assign us a certain amount of food or money each year based on our ADP, which is our average daily participation from the year prior. And we work to spend that money either in taking in product directly from the government, which we call brown box, or we can take those funds and divert them to companies and have them turn that money or that product into items for us, such as chicken patties and pizzas. And it brings the center of the plate cost down for us. So if a hamburger was 50 cents, it might become 30 cents using commodity dollars. One of the things we did this past year, because we found we were losing or not really able to use our commodity goods because we weren't offering as many meals as we typically do, is we joined a new program called Favors. And towards the end of the school year, we started offering students a lot more fresh fruits and vegetables. So instead of taking in raw ground beef, which we couldn't do much with, or blocks of cheese, because we weren't making a lot of homemade pizzas, we diverted that money and we were receiving things like prepackaged orange slices and apple slices and celery and carrots. And it turned out to be great. The kids really liked the product. The ladies in the kitchen were saying the product was so much fresher than what we typically get off our produce bid. So we, again, for this coming school year, diverted quite a bit of money into the Favors program so we can offer kids more fruits and vegetables. Fresh, obviously, is the best way to go. And the nice thing is the majority of them are individually wrapped in case we have to do a lot of classroom feeding again, which we don't want to do. And who really oversees the food service program? Really, we fall under the USDA, but we report to the state education department in New York. So they have a separate child nutrition piece of state ed, which we report to, but all of the main rules and regulations come from the USDA. So I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of COVID and meal counts and what it's done to us the last 2 years. As you recall, I was sitting here probably 2 years ago at this point talking about CEP, which is our community eligibility provision. And that allowed us to make all of the students at the Rocks campus, BOCES, who am I forgetting? I think that's it for now. We were feeding those students for free, whether they qualified for free meals or not. And as you can see, our numbers really started to spike or go up for lunch. We were having a great year, and then COVID hit and they just kind of topped off, and we stopped really having the wonderful meal counts that we were from March on. So we were set to break a record of the year before, but that did not happen to us. And then last year, well, we had so many kids not attending school, or kids that were in the classroom. And I know we had a lot of nervous parents, especially in the beginning. Our meal counts were not great. And they weren't great. We weren't bringing in the money, but we didn't want to do anything to affect our staff because we knew at some point we would be hopefully whole again and serving a majority of our student population. So we managed to struggle through the year and reallocate some of our staff in other buildings, just trying to get us through the year and help the staff out that we currently have. Oh, and yes. So these meal counts do include both last year and this year, all of the meals that we sent home to families or that families picked up. We had the year prior, we did quite a few meals because we were delivering meals to homes too. This last year, you know, it wasn't bad, but we didn't have quite the volume of meals for parent pickup. So again, this is a snapshot of this year's meals by month. And as you can see, once students really started coming back into the buildings in March, April, as our enrollment grew in school, you can see our meal counts really exploded and kids started to take advantage of the free breakfast and lunch. So we're hoping that next year, when breakfast and lunch is free again for all students, that we really see those parents taking advantage of that option and really helping out the families financially. So because we had lower meal sales, again, our state and federal revenue was down quite a bit. So you can see we lost a little over $200,000 in state and federal aid due to COVID. And then this, again, as I told you, about 40% of our revenue comes from a la carte sales, ice cream, beverages. And so as you can see, we only made $9,500 last year, which is terrible. And so in showing you those numbers, what really happened was last year for the 1920 school year, we had enough money in our fund balance to cover the losses that we saw from March on in COVID, and we could absorb those losses and still continue to operate. This year, we started the year with money in the bank, but with all of the loss we had from COVID with our a la carte sales and our reimbursement, we did end up quite a bit in the hole, as you can see. Even using our fund balance, we did have to borrow from the district about $500,000.
Yeah, so one of the things that's important to point out is that the general fund has an obligation to support the food service program. And so at the end of June, as of the end of June, we will bring their fund balance to zero, but we'll make up their deficit. So they won't have a negative, they will not have a negative fund balance. We're going to talk in the next few slides why we're optimistic about the finances of the program going forward. So I'll turn it back over to Wendy.
So just to give you a bit of a rundown about how we operated last year and what we're doing moving forward. Last year, we operated under SFSP, which is the Seamless Summer Food Program. This meant our meal patterns were a little bit different. We could offer a different variety of fruits and vegetables in a different quantity. And we received summer reimbursement rates, which are actually greater than the National School Lunch Program rates we typically receive during the school year. So that really helped us out financially. We were making more money per meal than we typically would in a school year. So what we did for this year is the state came out with a few options. They said, okay, we can't, keep doing that, but what we'll do is we'll let you run under the National School Lunch Program's seamless summer option. So we're going back to the traditional meal pattern where we have more fruits and vegetables on the tray. So our actual food costs will be a little bit higher, but they're going to continue to give us the reimbursement rate from summer feeding, or what they're calling now SSO. So if you look at the two comparisons, what we typically would have gotten for lunch was $3.64 for this coming year, but we'll be getting $4.32 per meal. So, that alone with the favors program and the government giving us additional funds to purchase foods for this coming school year, we're really optimistic that one, our breakfast and lunch counts will hopefully skyrocket compared to where they were. And two, that additional revenue will cover our costs and make up for some of that deficit we had and hopefully break even next year. I'm thinking we're going to have a good year.
Just to add to that, we talk to the board every year about lunch prices, and we're not going to be asking you to approve an increase in lunch prices this year because all students will be eating free. Under the current federal program. And the interesting thing about that is the price that we have historically charged for breakfast and lunch is actually quite a bit lower than we get reimbursed from the federal government. So by having all the kids free, having the higher reimbursements that we're showing you here under the seamless summer option, our revenues are actually going to be up over where they were before. So again, that makes us very optimistic that we'll at least be able to break even in the program that we haven't been successful at breaking even in for a number of years.
One of the other pieces of this is because everybody's now free. I know Don and I share this concern, and he's been talking to the principals about this, is that we're still going to continue to do our direct certification downloads to try to find as many students that qualify for free meals as we can. But we're also highly encouraging families to still fill out free and reduced applications, because that really affects the aid rate for the district. And while it's great that everybody's free, we don't want to see the aid ratio drop. So that's a big concern. So we'll be, asking parents on a regular basis if they haven't filled one out to try and fill one out. I just wanted to mention this to you. I think we breezed over this a little bit last year. Parents will be and are starting to receive pandemic benefits again this school year. So last year, parents that qualified for SNAP, Medicaid, or had a free and reduced application on file, or were in a CEP building, received a certain amount of money per student to help make up for the cost of possibly feeding their children at home during the pandemic. And this year they came up with a little bit of a different formula. It's crazy, based on how many days the students were in school, how many days they were possibly at home. And so if you hear anybody talking about benefits and not receiving benefits, it's really something that the state's controlling. And I know that they have just started passing up benefits to SNAP and Medicaid families, and then they're going to work their way down into families with applications or other access to the program. But it is a nice benefit for the families. I don't know how much longer it will continue, but this is another reason for parents to fill out free and reduced applications, because if they didn't fill one out last year and they don't have SNAP or Medicaid, they probably won't get the benefit. That's really kind of a rundown of last year and what we're, what we're hoping for this year. Are there questions about what school lunch is going to look like?
Mr. Crabtree, I guess this question goes to Dan. Elementary cafeteria. So last year, once students were coming back to the middle schools and the junior high and the high school, they were able to eat in the cafeteria. What is the rule going to be in September for elementary students?
Elementary students and all students will be able to eat in the cafeteria, according to the local guidance from the Department of Health.
I think that it's an awesome recommendation because of social wellness. Students need to see other students and so forth. So thank you, Dan, on that. Wendy, I don't know what to say about you and your food department because you're amazing. I've said this before. I said it when you came to BOCES and gave a presentation. We never would have made it through this year without your team and you as a leader, because our students were in so need and our families were so in need. And I'm in a different socioeconomic, I live near the Allen Road School, and those parents were in the morning coming and getting the lunches and breakfasts. I can't say enough about your team and what you have done. And please go back and let them know that the Board of Education just thanks them so very, very much. And I know they will continue this year to help our students. Thank you.
They amaze me every day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you guys
for your
very much.
time.
Thank you. Okay, we have no comments from the audience this evening. So we'll move on to Board of Education committee reports. Does anyone have anything? None. Bob, do you have a OCM report?
Real quickly, I gave each of you a report today through Connie of the July 8th and August 19th meeting of BOCES. If you ever have any questions through email, please send them to me. I've kind of condensed the report now. I'm not writing as much, but two things that came up that Dr. Cook talked about is, yes, Onondaga County, and Dan knows this, has rules, but Cortland County doesn't have the rules. And Madison County doesn't have the rules. So we have students that are in Cortland that don't have to follow the same rules right now as Onondaga County. So it's something that BOCES is watching. And the second thing I wanted to tell you, if you look at the paper on a Sunday morning, OCM BOCES is short of staff, major short of staff, teaching assistants, teachers, social workers. It's just a big need for BOCES. And as Dan said, we're hiring teachers for all of OCM BOCES to do virtual. So we may have a kindergarten group of kids from North Syracuse that will be with Liverpool and so forth. So BOCES will be doing that. So we are in need of a lot of teachers. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crabtree. Mr. Bowles.
Thank you. I just want to go back to the reopening plan. One of the things I do want to make sure that we mention or emphasize is last year we spent a lot of time providing what people will call concurrent instruction. So this year we're letting people know that's not something that's going to be an expectation as far as our staff doing concurrent instruction. So if students are needing the remote option, like Mr. Crabtree said, we are contracting through BOCES for that need. One of the other things that we are also looking to do in partnering with the county is the testing that I mentioned. And the testing would be voluntary, and it's a saliva test instead of a up through the nasal passage test. Again, people wanted to know about physical education. We would not be requiring people to change for PE. And I do want to let you know that we are setting up for the start of new teacher orientation, which starts tomorrow. And we have at least 50 new teaching staff. So it's going to be a large group that we'll be meeting with tomorrow and working with them. So I wanted the board to know that. And again, just a reminder, our first day of school will be on September 8th. It will be the start with students. Parents, please check the websites and communication from your school district, from your schools, so that you hear about any orientation plans based on your building. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, beginning of school year for staff, is there going to be a meeting of the entire staff, or because of COVID, we're not doing that?
We'll be getting information out tomorrow, but we will not be gathering at the junior high in a large group as we've done previous years. We just didn't feel that would be prudent. So people will be reporting through their buildings and the schedule will be coming out.
Does anyone have any Board of Education comments? None? Okay, we can move on to routine action items. Does anyone have any questions or concerns with A, B, C, or D? Seeing none, can I have a motion to take A, B, C, and D as a group? Mr. Crabtree, second. Terry, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Discussion action items. We are going to adjourn the regular board meeting for the purpose of conducting a public hearing on the district-wide safety plan and building level emergency response plans. So can I have a motion to call to order the public hearing of the North Syracuse, or can I have a motion to adjourn the regular Board of Education meeting? Mark, Xavier, all in favor? Okay. And can I have a motion to call to order the public hearing of the North Syracuse Central School District level safety plan? Mark, Matt, all in favor? That's unanimous. Do we have anyone here who wants to comment on the district level safety plan? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing and resume the normal Board of Education meeting? Mark, Terry, all in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, next is to approve the North Syracuse Central School District building level response plan. Do I have a motion to accept that? Xavier, Mark, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Don, thank you for your work on that. We have a couple of positions that we're going to be creating this evening. We have the resolution to create a 1.0 FTE school district clerk. Oh, did I miss? I'm sorry. Dan's presentation. The presentation that Dan gave on the district reopening plan. Do we have a motion to approve the plan as Dan presented? Xavier, Bob, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Dan, and to everybody for all your work on that. Now I can move on to E, to create the 1.0 school district clerk effective September 7th and to abolish the school district clerk effective September 30th. This is to allow some overlap because Connie Gibson is leaving us at the end of next month to retirement. Do we have a motion to create that position? Matt, Mark, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. F, the resolution to create a 1.0 FTE Director of Technology. Dan or Jason, do either of you want to?
This past year has been extremely difficult, and as everyone has seen, there's been a definite need for all of our students to have substantial technology for themselves and at home. And we are the largest suburb district in Onondaga County, and most other districts do have a director of technology. So in talking to students, staff, many people, we're looking at improving how technology will be infused in the classroom and working on the instructional aspects. So we're looking to have a director of technology help move us forward so that we can continue to offer support for our teachers and for our students as we're moving ahead in this very sophisticated technology world.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to create that position? Mr. Thorne, Xavier, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. A resolution to abolish a 1.0 administrative assistant for student support and to create a 1.0 associate principal at CNS High School. Do I have a motion for that? Mr. Thorne, Ms. Kruger, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have a resolution to create a 1.0 school bus attendant. Any questions? Can I have a motion? Matt, Terry, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. We have the authorization of tax warrants. Anyone have any questions on this yearly item? Do I have a motion to authorize the warrants? Xavier, Mark, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next is to approve the resolution for tax collection and deposit agreements. Do we have any questions on this? Do we have a motion? Mark, Matt, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have a roll call for the increase in tax certiorari reserves, worker compensation reserves, general liability reserves, employee benefits reserves, teachers retirement system reserve, and employee retirement system reserves. This was the presentation that Don gave to us at our last board meeting. Does anyone have any further questions on those items? Seeing none, do I have a motion? Mr. Crabtree, second. Mark, Connie? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. We have a gift this evening. The North Syracuse Central School District has received $5,000 from an anonymous donor to support our students' STEM education, specifically robotics. So thank you for that. Do we have a motion to accept that $5,000? Ms. Kruger, Xavier. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Declaration of non-marketable and marketable surplus. Do we have any questions? A lot of Chromebooks on here. Any issues? Okay, do I have a motion to declare those items surplus to be sent to auction? Mr. Herman, Ms. Kruger, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thanks. We have one retirement this evening. Suzanne Flanagan, a custodial worker 1, is retiring with 20 years of service. So thank you very, very much for your time here in North Syracuse, and we wish you well in your retirement. Moving to Personnel A, do we have any questions or concerns or need for an executive session? Seeing none, do I have a motion to accept Personnel A as submitted? Mr. Thorne, Ms. Kruger, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Personnel B, any questions or concerns? Do I have a motion to accept Personnel B? Ms. Kruger, Mr. Herman, all those in favor? That's unanimous. And before I move on to Personnel C, I'd like to recognize that Kimberly Rice and Nicholas Schultz are here in the audience tonight. They will be joining us as our new Associate Principal at CNS and Director of Mathematics. So thank you very much, and we welcome you to a long career here in North Syracuse, and we know you're going to do great things. So thank you. Do we have a motion to accept Personnel C? Mr. Crabtree, Xavier, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you and congratulations. All right, I will now make a motion for executive session to move into executive session for the purpose of reviewing the employment history of 2 individuals with no action to follow. Do I have a second? Ms. Kruger, all those in favor? That's unanimous. And finally, do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting? Ms. Kruger, Mr. Herman, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, and we're adjourned.